5-amino 1-MQ. Is this something that is not fantastic as a standalone and it's much better utilized with other medications like NAD?
No, someone like you, right? You're a healthy guy. You have a great metabolism to begin with. You're just trying to add a little oomph to your pre-existing healthy profile. You would do really well because chances are you have a decent amount of NAD+. The idea of taking more NAD+, it's kind of that concept of would a drop of water and a gallon of water make a big difference? So in your case, rather than adding more NAD to your system, I'd probably consider doing the 5-amino 1-MQ. So the abundance of NAD your body probably has in it can do its job better and longer without being broken down before it can do it, versus the idea of thinking, well, let me take more of something I already have a decent amount of.
Hey guys, welcome back to the ManLab. So today we are doing a virtual podcast episode again with Alex, and we're going to be covering the popular medication that's coming out right now known as 5-amino 1-MQ. Now, this one is very new to me. I'm not very familiar with it, so we are going to have Alex fully explain right from the beginning what it is. And just quickly, if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to reach out to T Clinics USA, go to tclinicsusa.com or click the link in the bio wherever you're watching or listening to this, and they'll get 10% off your first package of peptides, testosterone, whatever it is you're after. That is tclinicsusa.com. And let's get straight into it. So, Alex, what is 5-amino 1-MQ, other than a mouthful to say?
Yeah, man, it's pretty exciting. You know, we just started really getting out there offering 5-amino 1-MQ in both our weight loss program, business, as well as T Clinics USA. It's been out for a while, and one of the issues we just really haven't promoted in the past was it was just very unaffordable. Recently, we've definitely been able to get the price down by contracting with companies to get more of it. And so, of course, that brought our buying power down and brought the cost down. So, we're starting to promote it and use it and discover more about it. Think about 5-amino 1-MQ. First off, it's a pill-based product as a compound that helps to break down an enzyme that basically breaks down NAD+. Right, so we have NAD+ naturally in our bodies that we all know is beneficial in promoting energy and metabolic health and longevity. But there's this enzyme called NNMT. NNMT. I had to write this one down because I'm not going to remember this. It's nicotinamide N-methyltransferase. Okay. So, and I won't say that.
Yeah, we're never saying that again.
Yeah, so let's just say NNMT from now on. Double NMT. So what that enzyme really does is it goes through the body and it breaks down NAD+ faster. And if you remember NAD+ before all of our conversations, why do we use it? It's that coenzyme that powers the mitochondria of our cells so the cells can do their jobs better, be more active, be more healthy, live longer. And inherently, having more NAD available in your body gives you more energy, and it drives your metabolism and it makes you healthier. A lot of times people who have like damaged metabolic health or slow metabolisms, or in a lot of people's opinions, when they'll come to us and say, as I get older, I feel my metabolism slow. One of the reasons is because of lack of availability of NAD. And so oftentimes the solution is we'll give that person NAD. Mm-hmm. The body's generally breaking NAD down faster than what we can support it with via, some kind of an NAD+ supplement or the use of NAD itself. So if you take 5-amino 1-MQ, you can slow down the process in which NAD is broken down, and allowing, if you are using NAD+ supplements or NAD+ itself, to not be blocked and broken down as quick as well. So when thinking about it as a metabolic health or a weight loss based product, think about it as being something that's there to stop your body from breaking down the thing that drives energy.
Okay.
And what I find really successful, of course, is this product on its own tends to be successful. Like, to be honest with you, is it worth doing completely, utterly on its own? I mean, I'm not going to say no, but I think you're losing out on really where it shines. It pairs really well with other cellular health products, specifically SLU PP332.
That's what I was going to ask you about.
Yeah, or specifically like, NAD plus or NMN or NRN, which are both precursors to NAD plus. So if you're already using an NAD product versus the idea of taking more NAD, I would personally recommend versus going like double in on NAD to go in on NAD and then add the 5-amino-1-MQ. Or I would say do the SLU by itself first and then add the 5-amino-1-MQ to allow the SLU to be more active and do its job better as well. Because SLU as an exercise mimetic and a cellular health product also requires the presence of NAD and the utilization of healthy cells to do its job. So again, using 5-amino-NMQ to get rid of that thing that's breaking down that thing that is there that's needed to do the job that SLU does or that NAD does, use that to kind of clear the path, right? An analogy I used just this morning when I was speaking to somebody is like, imagine, you have this kind of freeway and then you have a parking lot, and the parking lot is the receptor sites of where ultimately things need to get to. The NAD is trying to drive around and get to that parking spot as quick as it can. The enzyme NNMT is kind of a cop that's pulling you over before you can get there. What 5-amino-1-MQ does is wipes those cops out and says, you have a clear path, get to the parking spot as fast as you can get there. So it clears the path for those other products that are cellular health or metabolic enhancers to get to the receptor site or get to the cell or get to the mitochondria a whole lot faster and more efficiently.
So is this something that is like, you mentioned earlier, it's not fantastic as a standalone, and it's much better utilized with other medications like NAD. So someone who's considering getting it, it's a plus one. It's not the start.
No, like someone like you, right? Like you're a healthy guy. You have a great metabolism to begin with. You're just trying to like add a little oomph to your pre-existing healthy profile. You would do really well because chances are at your health, at your age, you have a decent amount of NAD plus, your metabolism is already healthy. So the idea of taking more NAD plus, like it's kind of that concept of, would a drop of water and a gallon of water make a big difference? If you already got a lot of something, adding more of it, it may not be that impactful. So in your case, rather than adding more NAD to your system, I'd probably say consider doing the 5-amino-1-MQ. So the abundance of NAD your body probably has in it can do its job better and longer without being broken down before it can do it, versus the idea of thinking, well, let me take more of something I already have a decent amount of. And I'm sure, through longer term studies that have yet to been done, or at least I have yet to read on, there's a patient population who obviously would do better with only 5-amino-1-MQ versus a different patient population who would do better with only NAD plus. And then of course, if you're getting a benefit from NAD plus and you're looking to one up that, then of course this is that way to one up it. So, your question of, is this always like kind of the sprinkles on top of the ice cream? Is it always the second, thing to add on? Not always. Because again, there are going to be people who don't need the NAD itself because they already have so much of it and their body may break it down faster. And in those cases, probably taking 5-amino-1-MQ alone would definitely work. Now, I'll give you an example. I had a client who was on tirzepatide, which is a GLP-1, who was on also a growth hormone releasing, peptide, and was not doing NAD and was not doing SLU, but was saying to me like, look, I'm just not getting the weight loss that I expected to get. I'm feeling a little bit just kind of slouchy. I'm tired. It's not driving the ball as far as I want it to go as far as weight loss is concerned. I did say try NAD plus. I tried it. I didn't like the way it made me feel, was kind of the response I got. Because if you've done NAD, which we do, it's not for the faint of heart if you don't love that shot.
You can feel it. It burns.
So anyway, he tried 5-amino-1-MQ by itself before we were able to get it cheap as we are currently, and as inexpensive as we get it currently, and loves it. Not only loves the way he's finally seen weight loss, but also just loving the way he has just clear-minded and that energy and the things that we all kind of tout NAD to do for us, right? So I'm going to try. I'm not a good person to be like the kind of canary in the coal mine for most, because I'm on all these other things.
So it's
You
hard
would
to
probably,
isolate.
yeah, it's hard for me to tell you like, oh, I added it and it by itself, made me feel better, because I'm already on those other things.
Yeah.
And if I substituted out one for the other, would that be a fair assessment to like the general population? Probably not. So I do have to figure out a way to be the guinea pig that I love to be on behalf of all of our patients, so I can be the guy that out here trying stuff. But I do believe there's a place and definitely a way for it to be individually packaged as a great tool. Now, in NuViva, our weight loss program, we just added what we're calling the NuViva Accelerator package. And
Mm-hmm.
the NuViva Accelerator package consists of the SLU PP332 along with the 5 amino 1MQ. And the reason being is that pair, is creating an exercise mimetic and that cellular health activity. It's allowing obviously the NAD and those, the enzyme that's breaking down energy and all that to kind of be limited. So we really believe that combination is going to really drive someone's metabolism way faster than those who have stubborn and slow metabolic health to begin with.
Quickly, before we get back to the episode, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't on whatever channel you're watching or listening to the ManLab. And if you're listening on Spotify, if you could leave a 5-star review on the channel page, that would be greatly appreciated, because that will help continue to push it a little bit further for whoever is looking for information to help improve their health. Now, on the topic of information, if you are on YouTube, you can leave a comment below on this episode and we will respond to it with as much information as possible, or it might be another episode down the road. The reason this is important is because the more questions you guys ask, the more we know what we need to do to serve you guys better in future episodes. So comment on YouTube, leave a 5-star review, hit subscribe, and let's continue to help making men great again. Let's get back to the show. We're going to take a break to quickly talk about NuViva Medical Weight Loss. They have helped over 50,000 men and women across the state of Florida and other states as well throughout America lose those unwanted pounds and keep them off long term. Now, they don't do cookie cutter methods. They're going to make sure that you have your own system that will cater to your current lifestyle to help with your transition into making healthier long-term habits, so that it's not this unsustainable short-term hop on, hop off situation. Now, there are different methods you can do. You can choose different diets like keto, intermittent fasting, or whatever is going to suit you properly. You can do just diet and exercise with the proper nutrition, accountability, as well as coaching. Or you can also opt into having medical support as well with GLP-1s or GLP and GIP combinations to help with that appetite suppressant. These are very useful because what happens is you can use that as a spanner in the works, satiate yourself in the short term while you're building those habits long term. They get you off those medications so you're not relying on them like other places out there that love to just keep throwing you the medication. They're gonna make sure that you can get off it, build sustainable habits long term, and they have seen people lose upwards of sometimes 80 to 100 pounds and keep it off for years to follow. So if this sounds good to you, head to NuVivaWeightLoss.com. That link is in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. So if that sounds good to you, head to NuVivaWeightLoss.com. That link is in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. And let's go and kick some goals and make your life that much better with those extra pounds lost and gone for the rest of your life. Let's get back to the show. Yeah. And so would this 5-amino 1MQ be a good tool with something with like GLP-1?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it to its core is what's going to drive people to have more energy. It's definitely going to give a greater cellular health benefit, which is going to drive the metabolic, function of their body. Listen, more often than not, when you have healthy cells and healthy cellular activity, you get lower insulin resist or improved insulin sensitivity. You definitely get improved metabolic health. You're definitely going to have improved sleep patterns because, the body's working the way it should. And again, you've not sat in on the consultations that we have, but most people who are probably listening to the show and wondering, what can I do to lose more weight? They're oftentimes self-diagnosing themselves as I have a low metabolism or I have a slow metabolism.
Yeah, very common. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, sometimes it's just an excuse and sometimes there's a reality to it. And I do believe this can be the cure for that.
Okay. And so you mentioned it's a pill form. Is it something similar to Sloop where you just take it, like say before you go to workout, or a bit of boost of energy through the day, or is there like a protocol you recommend?
Yeah, so it comes in 50 milligram capsules, is the general kind of rule of thumb, most widely accepted dosing schedule. Keep in mind, like this is not an FDA approved product. There's not a huge amount of trials. There's very much in that research purpose category. Of course, you can get human grade versions of it and stuff that's, have a high COA and, the quality of it's good and all. But there's really not like a huge amount of studies out there proving the milligram doses and whatnot. But with that being said, it's usually a 50 milligram capsule taken up to 3 times per day. I don't feel when you take it, you're going to have, a suppressed appetite from it, nor are you going to get like increased driving of energy or a heart rate increase or a lack of sleep ability. So with all that being said, I feel like 3 times a day is reasonable because, of course, there's no reason not to. It's just keeping up with doing it. I mean, most people, when I ask them to do something 3 times a day, and I'm victim of it myself. I sit here at my desk at my office. I have a little thing right here next to me that you can't see that has my daily pills in it that are my morning pills. It's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're still sitting there. I forget to do it like most people. I took my SLU PP332 this morning. It's funny with that drug or compound that most common people would like to tell somebody that you shouldn't only do it before going to the gym, because while you're at the gym, you're exercising. You should be doing when you're not at the gym so you can trick your body into thinking you're still exercising. The matter is, and like most people listening to this podcast, I'm not exercising at the intensity that I should anymore most nights, most mornings. I would say I'm probably 70% into it right now, and I would probably be pretty nice to myself with that. So if you're doing a 70% workout, I think if you take SLU before you go to the gym, that 70 can be like an 85%er. And then, of course, if I'm sitting at my desk doing nothing, I can turn it into like a 25%, like I'm exercising as if I'm not at all. And so likewise with the 5-amino-1-MQ, you can get more out of like your everyday activities. So if all you do is go for a walk every day, that walk will turn into like a more intense exercise equivalent because you're utilizing it. And I think there's very much a 1 + 1 = 3, and I think there's a 1 + 1 + 1 = 5. So my 1 + 1 = 3 is, of course, SLU plus PP32 plus 5-amino-1-MQ. You want to throw one more on there, throw some NAD in the mix, and I think you're on a cellular highway. And then I'm saying, hey, you want to throw some methylene blue in there, you probably are going to be a little bit cranked up as far as like metabolic health. And there's so many of these cellular health kind of conversations going on. Keep in mind what's unique about this particular product is it's not by itself spinning or creating more cellular activity. Like NAD is the direct fuel that goes into a cell and says, here you go, kind of car engine, here's your gasoline, do your job that you do.
Yeah.
Methylene blue, in a way, kind of gets into the cell and says, spin faster mitochondria, and like kind of the equivalent of revving your engine. What the 5-amino-1-MQ is doing, it's stopping the governor that's restricting its ability to spin as fast or to have as much fuel to it. So they're not really redundancies. They're very much complementary of each other. And that's one thing that I'm pretty strict about doing, is trying not to do redundancies in my protocols. A lot of products can do the job of others. And if that's the case, don't like short yourself the ability for that product to be resourced later if all you're doing is a redundancy of another.
Yeah.
Because there are times that you will just find that whatever that product you're using may have worked initially quite well, and then down the road it's not working as well. You can shift away from it and try something different. And I'll give you an example, like CJ1295 and Ipamorelin. I wouldn't do those two together because they're redundancies of each other. Ipamorelin, however, would not be, because they're a little different in classification. So in these worlds, I wouldn't toggle between SLU and 5-amino-1-MQ or like methylene blue, and I would consider just doing and stacking them all together if you can afford that. And then of course, like,
That'd be a hell of a stack.
yeah, but again, there's no stepping on each other's toes. There's to a point stepping on each other's shoulders, right? So
Yeah.
stepping on each other's toes would be I'm doing, like, prohibiting you from doing your thing because I do it already. Getting on each other's shoulders would kind of ramp each other's capabilities and capabilities and abilities to do their jobs that much better too.
Yeah, perfect. And is there places out there that do the injectable version of 5-amino 1-MQ, and what is the pros or cons, or like is it useless?
I mean, definitely there are people I've seen offering them. I don't know if it's worth doing an injection. Same wise, I've seen people on these research sites talking about SLU as an injectable. Long and short, I'm sure it exists. Does that mean it works? Does that mean it's necessary? Typically, the way that, of course, our GI tract is capable of not destroying something is the differential between whether it is or is not chosen to be oral. So I feel like oral is always what everybody would prefer because it's easy. And if your stomach doesn't destroy it, like Ipamorelin, for example, you can't put in a pill version because if you attempted that, your body would just disintegrate it on its way down and it would turn to zero. Where like BP757, of course, like during the digestion process, very much of it survives. 5-amino 1-MQ, very much of it survives, and it's very efficient at getting through the GI tract. So with that being said, I would go with the pill. Also, the potency, like then you're and the half-life. I mean, again, I don't know that much about the half-life aspect of it to know if you would need to do like multiple injections throughout the day, because I've never offered the injectable version of it or even tried it for that matter.
Perfect. And so, is there anything that they're aware of just yet with 5-amino 1-MQ about like concerns or people that should or shouldn't take it?
No, I mean, I don't really know of any like possible side effect issues. I'm sure there's always the C word conversation would come into play, and how it potentially could.
Or if you're pregnant or breastfeeding.
Yeah. I mean, the typicals, right? If you're pregnant or breastfeeding or actively have cancer, you may want to speak to your provider and say, is this something I should or shouldn't do? That population is people we steer away from anyway, only because not the association and the potential risk of something going wrong is a big liability that we just don't want to invite ourselves into.
Yeah.
And look, if you're pregnant, I mean, I'm sure you'd love to have more energy and theoretically, but you also have to preserve that, right? So you just have to be mindful of those concerns. So yeah, no, I don't see there being an issue. One thing too that I've seen over like the course of years of knowing this product exists, I've heard people referencing the idea of needing to do stacks on it, in which they would, cycles on it, in which they would only do it for a period of time. And I think a lot of that just has to do with affordability and stopping feeling the improvement part of it. We've talked about this before where it's not that the product stopped working, it's just you stop sensing it getting you anywhere further.
Yeah.
And then you get disappointed. You're like, well, I'm spending X amount of money per month and like I don't really feel like it's doing anything anymore. And it's not that it's not doing anymore, it just got you so far, and that's as far as it can get you. And so then it can hold you there, which then you get used to. So then you don't really feel like it's great anymore. You just feel like it's normal now. And some people fade off and then they kind of unwind a little bit. And then they feel like, well, now I'm tired or I'm getting fatter or I feel my metabolism's getting worse and blah, blah, blah. And then they go back on and get themselves back to where they left before. So, in my opinion, if you can afford it, I don't know why you wouldn't stay on it. If it helped you get from where you currently are to where you're happy to be, I think at that point you just stay on it to stay there.
Yeah.
And of course, financially, if that's difficult to sustain, then I get that, but at the same time, don't come off of it and then let yourself unwind back to your starting point just to go back onto it to get right back to where you just left, and some people do off of like coming off of a bad time, right? Like maybe they were just pregnant and just had a kid and now they're overweight and now they want to get the baby weight off, or maybe they got sick, or maybe they wanted a trip, or maybe they got hurt. I get that. Like if you had a surgery and you put on some weight and you were, kind of down and out because of whatever, and you couldn't really get to the gym or play your sport and you were eating poorly during that time. And now all of a sudden it's like you want to get back on track as fast as you can, as quick as you can. And you're trying to get from like where you currently are to where you used to be. Yeah. Of course, use these products as a fast forward button to get you back there. And probably then you don't need it to sustain that because that's the old you. But if like you're that guy who's been historically overweight, or that woman who's been historically like kind of, metabolic challenged, and all of a sudden you use these products and your physique is really great now and you feel energetic and you feel amazing and like life has gotten good, and then all of a sudden you stop, don't expect to stay in that great place, because the only reason you got there to begin with was potentially this as one of those ingredients.
Yeah. Some of my research sort of showed that people were suggesting like 6 to 8 week cycles, but there is that element for sure. Like when you start having something, it feels like, you're in a car accelerating, you feel great.
Find out if you may have low testosterone for free with the ADAM test. Now, sometimes it's a little bit nerve-wracking to go into a clinic to get a full blood panel to find out your hormone levels. And sometimes you might just want to sort of kick the tires just a little bit. If you are that person, the ADAM test is for you. All it is a couple of questions that are completely non-intrusive, non-invasive, that will help give an indication to you whether you may or may not have low testosterone. And the best part is the ADAM test is accurate up to 88% of the time. So for something as simple as a questionnaire, that is a very high number. Now, if you want to make use of that, you can do it online right now. It takes less than 30 seconds to fill out, and it is at bit.ly/free ADAM test. That's free ADAM test. Now, if you don't want to remember that, the link is in the description of wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. And then after you've filled out the questionnaire, you will now have a better idea of whether you may or may not have low testosterone, and if you need to take the next step, which is a detailed blood panel with a clinic such as T Clinics USA. So again, to make use of that, go to bit.ly/free ADAM test, and let's continue to making men great again. Let's get back to the show.
And then once you're cruising on the highway, even though you're going, say 90 miles an hour and you're speeding, you don't feel like you're going anywhere.
Right. It becomes the kind of law of averages. When your average is here, and then all of a sudden you get there, to the next tier up. That next tier up feels awesome comparably to the previous average, and then all of a sudden that becomes average, and then you want to go with tier. And it's something that we deal with the testosterone. We've talked about the past. When guys go on testosterone, they're like, "Holy shit, I feel like Superman, and I want to have sex all the time, and my muscle growth, and I feel energetic." And then they call me back like 3 months later. "I need to take more, man. I don't feel like." Or I'm like, "Bro, how big do you think you're going to get? How strong do you feel like getting? Like, you can't just keep going stronger. I mean, I guess you could theoretically by taking like absurd doses of stuff, and that's why bodybuilders find themselves in these worlds where they're taking like monster doses." And every cycle that followed the previous one is a bigger one, because they're chasing that dragon. It's like any drug use, right? Like you get a taste of it and you want more. You want a taste of it, you want more. You get high, now you're going low. And so, I'm sure with this stuff, it's no different.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Is there anything else like we should cover? Because I feel like...
No, I think this is one that, for most of the clients out there listening, I say give it a shot. See if you're a candidate. Maybe you have, a higher presence of that NNMT in your body, where your body's breaking down that presence of that, cellular health and, to begin with, like NAD. And if that's the case, see what it feels like to live in a world where that's not being broken down as quick. And maybe you get that really great energy boost. Because I'll tell you, like, everybody complains about no energy. Everybody complains about this product didn't really do the thing for me I expected to do, because there's so many variables, right? There's so many, like sleep, like food, like hormones. And so when you've checked off a lot of those boxes and still find yourself tired or still find yourself groggy, maybe this is that next thing that's going to tip you over. And hell, if you're like me and you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're into this shit. It's the next toy to play with, right? I love trying the next coolest thing. Like, it's interesting to see how our bodies work, and it's great to have these like accessibilities to this science project that we are manipulating certain things with really cool outcomes. Sometimes is the really fun part about being around all this, and not because you're kind of addicted to the idea of always wanting something new, but because it may be that next one thing that was that missing link in like your wellness journey or your weight loss journey, or like your whole process. So
hey guys, so obviously I've just changed clothing. So as Alex, this has been a jump forward in a couple of weeks. I recently bumped into Alex and he was raving about 5 amino 1MQ. So I just wanted to quickly jump in, wrap this episode up with a bit of more of a further testimonial to find out how Alex is feeling. So Alex, after a couple of weeks, what have you noticed with 5 amino 1MQ?
Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way. If you guys have been following us, you kind of know I'm the guy that tries everything. I'm very much an R&D dude. I'm not going to pitch something if I haven't tried it myself. We talked about it last time. I knew what I needed to know as far as how it worked and essentially what was stated it would do, but I didn't really personally experience it. And so, I had to be honest, like it was the first supplement I've used in a long period of time, product, I don't want to say supplement to demean it, but product I've used in a long period of time that I actually had a very holy shit type of experience. I don't know if this is just me, and I know it's not just me because my wife is doing it, and I've had some clients who are doing it, and it seems to be the universal answer when I ask people about it. Maybe my personal experience has been more big and more good, I think, than other people's has been. But regardless, man, I tell you, my energy, my mental clarity, my kind of just buzzingness to what I expected of NAD to do years ago, I feel like I'm getting that from this now. And
Interesting.
After learning more about it, what I really started to understand is that it wasn't so much that maybe I wasn't producing enough NAD, and it wasn't so much that I wasn't taking enough NAD. I think my problem personally is that I may have had a larger amount of that molecule, that enzyme called NNMT, that was blocking, the NAD from getting to my cells. So all of a sudden, by me taking 5-amino-1-MQ and removing that, all of a sudden I really got this great like NAD energy, feeling good type of moment. And then my wheels started rolling, man. I started thinking about how many people do I speak to that are dealing with energy issues and long COVID and chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm like, holy shit, man, how many people is this the solution maybe? Like, are we maybe all running around with too much of this blocker to the cell that the NAD is trying to get to? So I started thinking about analogies and kind of ways that I could describe this and really understand like how to describe it to other people. And the one I've landed on, because everybody knows me as being a car guy, is this. If our body is a car and gasoline, the fuel that powers our car, is the NAD, the molecule called NNMT, which is in our body, is kind of like a small siphon that's sucking the fuel out of our vehicle. And so therefore our engine isn't able to run on that fuel as long, and eventually we're running out of gas, and that's why we're really tired. What 5-amino-1-MQ does is it clamps that siphon and it stops it from being leached out, and it allows the fuel that you're putting into your body, or in my case the NAD, into my body, to actually run this body without being drawn out, faster or more artificially. And another way that it was described to me was, if you think about NAD driving on the road, and the parking lot was where that vehicle was trying to get to, and in the analogy, parking lot would be the cell. The NNMT is kind of in between the highway and the parking lot, kind of on the exit ramp. And so what 5-amino-1-MQ does is it clears out that exit ramp so that NAD that you either produce naturally or that you're injecting or you're taking as a supplement, as a booster like NMN, can actually get to where it needs to get to and park into the parking lot. So we all think like, just take more NAD, and maybe you're just clogging the highway up and it can't get off. And just putting more fuel in the gas, and it's just siphoning out just as fast. So, if you're really trying to figure out what can I do to boost my energy and boost my desire to do more shit, maybe the true answer is not solely NAD, but it's NAD plus 5-amino-1-MQ. And I'll say this, like people say, well, are you saying I should do 5-amino before NAD plus? I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like maybe if you had to make a choice, you've never done either, and you're trying to figure out which of the two to start with, maybe there's a place where 5-amino-1-MQ makes more sense to start there. Because if your natural NAD that you're already producing in your body is already high enough, but it can't get to where it needs to get to do its job, then maybe all you need to do is just clear its path better. Maybe it's as simple as that. And maybe there's a point where, if you're younger, like if you're in your late 20s, early 30s, and you're thinking, man, I'm tired all the time and I'm falling asleep and dragging, and you're like, I want to go on NAD, maybe it's too early for you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you should try this first and just see. And if it doesn't give you that boost, then maybe you need the NAD on top of this. But I will say, I don't think you should be doing NAD without this, because it's to be, why would you want to keep taking more of something that can't do its job? Like, it doesn't make sense to me to essentially keep putting something into your body that you naturally know is leaching out of itself at a pace that's faster than it can be used. Because it's kind of like kind of like a sink. Like, if the bottom was open and you're putting water into it, like, you can't fill the bowl. How do you plug that bowl up, right? And maybe this is the answer that a lot of people are trying to find. In our weight loss practices, we started integrating it as a product into the accelerator mode, and giving people energy to go exercise and get their metabolic health up a little bit. And I've heard a lot of people saying, man, I'm getting a lot leaner and I'm feeling like my diet's starting to work. Yes, it's hot out, so like, it's hard for us. We live in Florida. It's late September right now. For some reason, it's still 100 degrees out, but
it's been hot.
Yeah, man, it's wildly hot. But I noticed my sweat is up. I have been taking it with that product SLU PP332 that we talk about.
Yeah.
And we combine that as a pairing to create the accelerator package. But again, I'm not typically one to remove something, so I'm typically one just to add it in. So I'm on MD and I am on SLU, and I added this, and all of a sudden I'm like just flying, man. I feel fucking great. I really am impressed. I really think that you should try it. I really think that if you're looking for something new just to add to the mix, why not give this a shot? I don't see any downfall to it. I've looked high and low to try to find reasons why people shouldn't use it. There's no contraindications. There's no really percentage or classification of client, whether you're on an SSRI or you have any issues that you're on Adderall or something that you shouldn't do this. Like, no, like, everybody could benefit from it. Obviously, our typical answer of, if you have the C word, or if you're pregnant or nurse feeding, you should stay away from it. But besides that, I really think it's a give it a go kind of product. And again, it's pretty affordable now, so you don't have to do a lot of them. I've been only taking 2 a day, by the way. The bottles that we have 90 pills in them. I know last time I saw you and I was talking about it, I said you should try it. I don't know if you have yet, but if you haven't, I really look forward to hearing people's feedback on this one, because I can't be the only one.
Yeah, because originally it was you were saying like morning, lunch, and dinner in a way, almost like 3 a day. But
it was like morning, because I wake up early. Like, I'm an early riser. I'm at the gym by 6 a.m. So I do my first pill right before I go to the gym. And I'm doing my second pill upon coming home from the gym around like 9:30, 10. And then I do my third, when I did do the third, right around lunchtime, 1 o'clock-ish. What I've changed to recently, because I'm actually headed down to Panama next week to go do a stem cell treatment, so I've taken some time off the gym. And by the way, that's not why I'm feeling extra good taking time at the gym, because I felt time at the gym, so don't throw that at me. But this past week, I stopped training because I'm just doing my cardio, walking and whatnot, just to kind of keep my joints healthy, because I'm getting some stem cell treatments. But so I haven't been taking that third one because I don't have that gym component to contend with.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, like I said, I just wanted to do a follow-up, man. I was pretty pumped. I think if anybody's listened to our beginning part of our stage, when I talked before, I don't know if I sounded so excited about you got to get out and try it.
The energy shift does feel different.
It does. And it's natural, man. Like, I'm not hopped up on caffeine or some stimulants. I, as you guys may or may not know, I don't drink. I absolutely 100% don't drink energy drinks. I don't take energy products. I do drink coffee. But like, it feels good, man. It feels good to be clear-headed and have energy. And I really, for those people that I hear the same energy improvement from on NAD, I always kind of was a little jealous. I'm like, I feel good on it, I guess. Like, I always kind of felt like this, like, I feel pretty good on it mode. And I don't know, like 5 amino, I'm like, I feel good, great. Like, getting shit done, mentally clear, going through a lot, work, business, family, like most people probably listening to this are. Sometimes we're drained, not by physical activity, but even just the mental exhaustion of dealing with stress in life. And sometimes you just don't have the bandwidth to deal with as many things in your life as whoever throws it at you. And if you're looking for that extra thing really to kind of get you through your day and being 100% there, focus, you can give your family and your career and yourself energy to like do your favorite things. it sucks to be tired and exhausted and running out of steam, because you start to really make sacrifices. You're like, well, my business is a priority over my family, or my family is a priority over myself. And you start to cut out things. And I was noticing myself doing that. I was like, well, I only have the mental bandwidth to put up with 2 out of 3. And I was giving up on myself a lot. I wasn't giving myself my own time and my walks and my gym moments. And, it's not fun to be running out of steam. So yeah, give it a shot, man. 5 amino 1 cube, big fan. 10 out of 10.
All right. Well, that's a big claim.
Yeah. For me, at least. So,
all right, guys. So make sure to subscribe. And if you haven't already, you can go to tclinicsusa.com. Links in the description. Mention the ManLab, get 10% off if you want to try out 5 amino 1 MQ or anything else as well. So see you guys next time.